wise men said to me, a man with one watch always knows what time it is. A man with two is never sure. But in today's world, it is amazing that you can look around and see all the clocks that you see on the exact same time. So, and that is the case right now. So, all right. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for attending this session. We're going to be talking about jobs to be done and getting a deeper understanding of the jobs to be done framework and how you can apply that. But first of all, a big thank you to our sponsors, because they're a big part of what makes Product Camp free for us to be able to attend. And we're especially thankful for the McComb School and the center here for making this available for us for free. This is a wonderful facility, and to be able to get that for free was fantastic. So thank them if you see a chance to encounter with anyone there. So let's talk about the jobs to be done. And the reason I like jobs to be done is because when we apply it correctly, it gets us to really understand what is it that our customers want to be able to do. And it's not that they want to buy our product. A product is just the means of being able to get there. But this phrase by Clayton Christensen is one of my favorite here, is that improves their lives in a particular way. So we always are looking at ways for us to be able to improve our lives in a particular circumstance. If the circumstances change, while it may end up looking very similar, we may actually, if you want to sit over here, sorry, I don't mean to push you into seats, but I'm trying to divide this out fairly evenly for the little exercise we're going to do. So. But it's really to understand it. So some of these quotes you may have heard before, but you notice they're never talking about the product itself. They're talking about how somebody is trying to improve their lives in a particular way. So let me set this up with a story, because this is where I really came to understand jobs to be done. So as a trainer and consultant, I do a fair amount of traveling, or at least pre-COVID I did. I still do some. And I would arrive at the hotel, unpack my bags, take out my shirts or my clothes, and my shirts were always wrinkled. And the good news is that hotels have an iron and an ironing board. But I was experiencing this frustration because there was never a good spot to set up the iron and the ironing board, because where the electrical outlets were crowded, where there was big spaces available, and you could watch TV while ironing, there were no electrical outlets. And so I was always complaining about, if they would just put an electrical outlet right there, then I could set this up in front of the TV, watch, have plenty of room to work with. Well, somebody finally challenged me and said, aren't you talking about the solution? What's the problem you're trying to solve? And so I tried to think about, how do I phrase that problem? And it took me a little while to come up with a definition of what that problem was. And but I finally said, you know what, I just want flexibility in where I iron my shirts, or I want to have sufficient space. And maybe ultimately I wanted to be entertained while ironing shirts. But then someone else really challenged me, is what is the job that I was trying to accomplish? What do you think the job I'm trying to do is?
Not to have wrinkled shirts.
They look professional to somebody else.
Okay, so excellent. So both of those are correct. And I'll show you why it's correct. Because when we think about the jobs to be done, there can be emotional jobs that you're trying to accomplish, but there's also functional jobs that we're trying to accomplish. So the functional job was get the wrinkles out of my shirts. The social job was look professional for my customers. And you could argue, is that social or emotional? But there are social and emotional jobs. So then you start thinking about, Well, what were the pains that I was experiencing? Took too long, was boring, difficult to set up, were some of those pains. And there were gains that I wanted to do. Okay, save money? Sure, I could have sent my shirts out to the hotel laundry and have them iron them, but $10 a shirt or whatever they charge, it quickly gets expensive. Have more time for meeting prep, so reduce the time to do this. I can spend more time on meeting prep, etc. Well, it was only once I started talking about the job that I was trying to do that a new solution became available to me. And the solution was Downy Wrinkle Releaser.
Boom.
Everybody use Downy Wrinkle Releaser.
Hey, no
Okay?
pitch. No pitch.
I get no money from this. No compensation whatsoever. Just check my answer, no. But that was where I really understood jobs to be done and the value of it, because as long as I was looking at ironing shirts as my job to be done, I would have never understood there were other solutions out there. But as soon as I understood the solution, that my job was to get the wrinkles out of my shirt, now I have a totally different solution available. So I don't iron shirts in hotels anymore, for the most part. Every once in a while I have to.
And
Yes.
it's literally a solution.
All right, so I was, what would I say, enticed to hear this session because the title has been intriguing. That was a different way of thinking, but you listen to you here, and I'm saying, job, benefit, objective, what's the difference? It's just, are we just talking semantics here? Is there something specifically different about looking something as a job rather than as an objective or a benefit?
Yeah, so think about the job as what you're trying to accomplish.
Objective,
Yeah, you could use that term objective.
yeah.
So what are you trying to accomplish? Not what is it you're specifically trying to do, but what is it you're trying to accomplish? Because you have multiple ways that you could potentially get there.
Right. So
Okay.
it's the end. It's all about focusing on the end result. What's it gonna look like?
A big part of that is the outcome. What is the
Yeah,
outcome
outcome.
they're
What's
trying
the
to
outcome?
accomplish? Because we as product people, and even if you're not a product person, we as whatever we do, we often step into situations with the solution already in mind. But if we step back and ask, what am I trying to accomplish? What is my goal? What is the outcome I'm trying to achieve? That's going to give us the opening to say, wait, there may be better ways for us to be able to go and accomplish that. And so this is where innovation comes, is we think differently about it.
But can I ask the question, it's
Yeah.
like, so would you call that look professional for customers an objective? Would you use, okay, right.
Or
So to some degree,
yeah, or benefit.
benefit,
Yeah.
And but I'm totally with you on, having worked with engineers my entire career. One of the things they get accused of a lot is creating solutions looking for problems.
Yeah.
And so they become enamored with how it works. And they're so impressed with themselves by doing it cleverly.
sure.
Or elegantly. Or just whatever lead thing, floats their boat.
Yeah.
And people are looking at it, and marketers always complaining, why can't you give us the solution the customer wants?
And it's because we as product people aren't giving them enough information around the context and what that need is. Roger?
Yeah, so there was about 25 years ago, there was a guy named Alistair Coburn who wrote a book called Structuring Use Cases with Goals. And basically, I think it's funny because jobs to be done sort of restates a lot of what he originally said, which was take your use cases, don't make them product centric, make them goal centric. And then identify the sort of problems that happen in the context of
Exactly.
those use cases,
Yes.
right? And those are the problems that you're trying to solve.
Exactly. And so, while as I talked about this, I'm talking about it as raise the question of what you're trying to accomplish to a higher level. Now, are there times that we can say, well, let's talk about my specific product? Absolutely. But I encourage us always to take that step up to think about what is the ultimate goal that they're trying to do. And I can give you lots of examples around doing it within the context of a specific product too. But my goal here is to get us to think about how can we really better understand the problem space, and by understanding truly what they're trying to accomplish, open ourselves up for innovation. Give you one more quick example and then we're going to do our exercise. We all know this product. Did they invent the need for the iPod? No. What was the need? What was the job?
Have all your music.
Listen to music?
Not having to carry around your band CD jacket.
But why were we carrying around CD jackets?
Listening to more
What was
variety of music.
That was the problem.
Portable
Occurred in the
music.
context.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
To feel inspired.
portable music, okay.
Variety.
More songs in a smaller space.
Okay, so all of those are around that. Ultimately, the way I would describe it is to be able to listen to your desired music on the go. Okay? Because it's not just listening to music, and it's not just about, I don't want to carry the CDs. That was one of the pains I was feeling. But you can see that.
1980s Walkman that would do that.
Well, exactly.
No, but you
But so listen to your preferred music on the go. But if you look at the solutions that have been available, now, watching Monty Python and the Holy Grail, you see the minstrels following the knights. Is that true? I don't know, but they could get music on the go if you were rich enough. Okay, so it wasn't available to everybody. And then in the 1950s, Westinghouse introduced the portable radio. Now I could take music on the go. But there were limitations to that. We couldn't achieve all of our desired outcomes because when I think about a job, listen to music on the go, this is where you might separate this out a little bit, is that I have more than just one desired outcome. It's being able to listen to the music I want to, okay? Not having to carry a lot of things with me, minimize the volume of things I have to carry, etc. So there's a lot of different outcomes that might relate to that. So yes, I could listen to music on the go, but it had limitations. So I had to listen to what the radio was playing, or the station was playing. And then of course the Walkman took that a step further, but you had to carry around all those tapes.
Or you had to make a good mixtape.
But the fact is, you had to do a lot to do it. The walk, what was the CD called? The walk.
Discman.
Discman. Thank you. Yeah, the Discman helped in some of those problems, but it wasn't until the MP3 player started to come out, and Apple was not even the first MP3 player, but they really understood the job of what we were trying to do, and of course. Even the iPod, as amazing as it has been, is now end of life. And why? Yeah, because we can listen to all the music we want to on the go. So we're not even limited by that. So you start to see is the solution over time evolved for the same job. Now, yes, the technology matters. But only in that it helps us address that job and it helps us do that job better than what we have before. So we're going to do an exercise, and it's going to be really quick here, about 10 minutes, is within your groups, I'm going to give you the same framework right here, and I want you to think about this scenario here. So in terms of the prepare breakfast for children, I want you to think about the jobs to be done and what are the pains and gains that are associated with those. And what we'll do here, let's break this table into two groups, or however you want to do that is fine by me. This table, I think we'll do 2 groups here, so the 3 and 3, however you want to do that. And this table too, let's break into 2
I'll scoot in with y'all.
That's not having to break it into 2 groups. And so, take 10 minutes to work through this. We won't get, everybody will not have a chance to do, share their results. We'll spend a little time sharing the results. All right, we got about 6 minutes here before we need to wrap up, and y'all can head to lunch. So let's do a quick debrief. What were some of the things that came up as you had discussions? Who wants to share? We'll start over here.
So a lot of things, it seemed like they could go into more than one of the categories, and we actually had some challenges deciding which category things.
Whether it was a job, a pain, or a gain. And a
And you
big
could
part.
frame it easly to go into all three.
Yeah, and so the thing to be careful about, if I'm expressing my job with a pain or a gain, then I'm probably not expressing the job clearly, because I don't want to express, for example, some people will say, as my job is, make breakfast quickly. All right, I already have an outcome, the exact outcome out of there. So that's actually part of the pain and gain. It's just make breakfast is the job. Okay, so that's where,
Okay, so
yeah, you might be combining some of those together.
let's get at that. So if we're gonna say nutritious, which one does that go in?
So keep my children healthy, so this is where I'm probably going to cross the lines a little bit, but provide nutritional meal for my kids, okay? Or yes, I probably would say have healthy children. All right.
So if we say provide a nutritional meal for my kids that they will eat in a timely manner, that's cost effective. Because not too messy. Why?
Yeah.
Because I need
Yeah.
my kids to get to school on time, well nourished. I need to have a reasonable cost and everything else.
Exactly.
But I can pretty easily
Yeah.
shift any of those
Try,
things.
yeah,
into
try
categories.
to, what you want to do on the job is to try to keep it reasonably succinct. And so if I'm turning it into 10 or 15 words, then I'm probably expressing everything, too much around it.
If you have kids,
Well, what do you have, like a bunch of constraints like that?
You list them in the pain points.
right?
Yeah.
See, I think they're all necessary constraints, right? Presuming,
Right.
I mean, we went with the assumption this was before school because otherwise
Right.
it's not nearly as interesting a job.
But great question here. Great insight. Is the context different getting ready for school or preparing breakfast on a weekend?
Absolutely.
It's a different context, so it's a different job at that point in time.
Right, we made a decision up front
Yeah.
before we started the process.
Roger?
So it was interesting, I think we can go back to the listen to music job to be done. And in that case though, it was listen to music on the go. And maybe that was cheating too.
That's what I want to hear.
Well, because the context of listening on the go is different than listening
Yeah, but I still
while
wonder,
I work.
yeah,
But you also said what I want to hear, right? You added a bunch of constraints too.
I added a constraint, but I didn't add all of the pains and gains around it.
so maybe it becomes a little too academic,
Yeah.
but I think there is a strong argument for it. It's really just listen to music, but there is a particular set of problems and context that those problems occur.
If you were on the go.
And, yeah, so it's like, this product, like many other products, enables you to listen to music. However, we solve this set of problems associated with being on the go better than any of the other products.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Right here.
I'll add, just based on what Roger was saying, that I think there's a unique pairing happening with jobs to be done and personalization at scale. So those two concepts, I think, can work together here, because if we're really thinking, okay, applying this to products in the market, if we're allowing for, even at the onset of a business case or idea that is brought to the board, to have the personalization at scale as a part of the jobs to be done, processing, I think that would help us, because then it doesn't become so rigid that you have a perfect product, but it actually needed more personalization and needed to be factored into the various ways that the need presents.
So for example, including the word prepare in his description might be excluding the possibility of buying.
Yeah,
That's
that
it.
was going to be sort of my thought as well. Like, I went back when I was trying to figure out what the actual job to be done in this circumstance was. I went back to your wrinkled shirt analogy, and I thought that like the outcome, what the physical outcome that you wanted was an unwrinkled shirt. And so I don't know that like the job to be done, or it doesn't feel like the job to be done in this context is to actually prepare breakfast. The outcome that we really want is that the kids eat their breakfast.
We did the
Well,
same
for what
thing.
benefit though?
Yeah.
Interesting, okay.
We
Yeah,
did
no,
back
and
up
then we
until
had social benefit on there too. Like
Yeah.
the kids eat their breakfast,
Right.
they eat their healthy and nutritious breakfast so they can perform better at school.
Yeah, we backed up until we got to satisfy the child until the next meal.
Mhm.
So it's but it doesn't have all of the little specifics, so,
Yeah.
you know.
But,
Yeah.
and you can take it one level higher and say, prepare the child for the day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
I can satisfy that by giving my kid his ADHD medication and he doesn't want to eat it.
Yeah, but
Yeah, so-
on a high
so-
level.
Yeah, so there's always that challenge is if I take it up to that high level, then there's probably multiple jobs within that.
Yeah.
And this is something you have to just play with and figure out, do I feel I'm at the right level? Am I too broad, or am I getting into the solution? And the goal is well, yes, I could probably debate is it a job, a pain, or a gain. The goal ultimately is to understand the customer needs and do it from that perspective.
Right, and to that point, we debated also who's the customer here, because there's kind of like the preparation is the adult, the parent, we would assume.
Yeah.
But also the children are also receiver of.
Yeah.
So who's the customer stakeholder?
And I'm glad you brought that up because I overheard you talking about that, and that's an excellent point. Because in reality, I would probably break this out into two of these sheets.
Right.
I would break one out for the parent, I'd break one out for the child.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah.
And you
So you
also
want to think
need
about those different personas.
you need a context that's a little bit more specific, because you could prepare breakfast for 10 Cub Scouts at a camp out, and that's a different,
That is exactly right.
and it doesn't say for your children. You're doing it in a daycare, you know, for a bunch of other people's
You
children.
know. So I left it open enough that you could start to work through some of those different contexts. But that makes the same point, is that context matters.
Yeah.
Is one of the contexts I'm on the go, or is one of the contexts I'm at home?
Quick question, Tom. How often are you doing this? So you mentioned in relation to innovation. So I'm thinking about iterations. Are you doing this, if it's agile, at every sprint retrospective, or?
Every time, so I hate the term that people use in terms of features and epics, but if I'm working on a new epic, I definitely want to do it.
Okay.
If I'm at a new feature level, I should do it, I think.
Yeah.
And if I'm doing a significant enhancement to a feature, I probably should step back and do some of that jobs to be done. The difference might be is that I'm doing it in the context of my product.
Yes.
So for example, and we're already at the end of the time here, but for example, let me think of this example that came to my mind just a day ago. Oh, so for example, when you are getting off an airplane, you may have put stuff in the overhead bin. And one of the things that you want to make sure of is, I didn't leave anything there. Well, sometimes it's hard to see. And one of the things I noticed in one flight I was on is there were mirrors up in the bins. Okay? That's within the context of a specific product. I'm thinking about the job. So you might look at your specific feature and say, ultimately, what are they trying to do? And where are their pains and gains? What is step one of that process? What is step two? But not as my product does it, in terms of what is it they really need to accomplish.
Right.
So yes, I could even I wouldn't do it at a user story level, but at a feature level, I would, as I'm making any major changes to a feature, I would definitely consider it.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, One more and we'll wrap up.
You could argue that the job to be done is the ethic.
You could argue that, yeah. But then you can, so that's where there's hierarchy of jobs in reality. And so you can build it just like there are hierarchies of requirements. There's hierarchy of jobs. All right, great conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.